The Constitution, principles of the Constitution. Basically, this video is going to introduce ideas that we're going to see repeatedly throughout this course, so it is a very good video to be a good foundation of what we're going to discuss. There are several principles of the Constitution. We're going to talk about 8 of them in this video. The first one is republicanism. You should see that the word republic is part of that. We are not talking about the Republican Party when we say republicanism. We're talking about the idea that the United States is a republic. So, what is a republic? It is a representative form of government. By the way, when we discuss the principles of the Constitution, these ideas are things that almost every American agrees on. These are not things that Democrats and Republicans, liberals and conservatives argue about. Rather, when we say these ideas that are coming up, they are things that all Americans believe in. So the vast majority of Americans believe that we should have a republic, a representative form of government. Additionally, we believe that we have or should have federalism, which is where we divide powers between the national, state, and local level. We're going to discuss this in a lot more detail coming up, so I won't focus on it right now. But for now, federalism, the division of powers between national, state, and local level. So each level has a job to do, and they get to do it. We've seen this term already, so again, probably signifying its importance. Popular sovereignty. People are the source of power, not the government. We give the government its power. Limited government. Now again, I want to caution because a lot of people would associate this idea with only Republicans or only conservatives. This is not talking about the ideas that they believe in. This is talking about, again, all Americans. Limited government is simply the idea that the government doesn't have unlimited power. So think about Democrats, for instance. Even somebody who is a strong Democrat, it is unlikely that they want Barack Obama to have unlimited power to do anything he wants. So we have a definition. Political power is restricted by only giving the government certain powers. And you can see the quote from Thomas Jefferson that he articulates an idea of what could happen if we have too large of a government. So again, limited government. Additionally, we believe in separation of powers. And now this, as opposed to federalism. Federalism, remember, was division of power between state, local, and national government. This time we're talking about separating powers between the 3 branches. So our 3 branches: judicial, legislative, and executive, otherwise known as the courts, Congress, and the president. Those are our 3 branches. We believe in separation of powers. Again, why? So that no one group or one person gets too much power. Checks and balances. I want to make it very, very clear that checks and balances and separation of powers are different. They are similar. The 2 ideas go together and they work with each other, but they are different. Separation of powers refers to the powers that each branch is given. So if we go back to that last slide, if we look at that, look at the picture in the center. Congress makes the laws, the president enforces the laws, and the Supreme Court interprets the law. Those are the powers that those 3 branches were given. On this slide, we're talking about how each branch can actually influence the other branches. So you have a definition. Each branch is given the ability to block or influence actions of the other branches. So there's a sheet that you guys have or will have in which we can look at the checks and balances, and it'll be very, very clear. The idea here is that the president has a little bit of control over Congress and a little bit of control over the judiciary. And the judiciary has a little bit of control over Congress and the president. And Congress has a little bit of control over the president and the judiciary. So each one is able to influence the other branches. Again, the purpose, so that no one branch gets too much power. Majority rule with minority rights. So again, remember, we use democracy, so the majority of people, if 52% of people voted for Obama, guess what? Obama was president, or is president now, correct? So we have majority rule in this country. The problem is we don't want to have majority rule and allow it to trample on the rights of minority groups. So our policies need to reflect what a majority of citizens want without taking away the rights of minority groups. And again, another word of caution here is that when we use the word minority in this sense, we're not just talking about racially or gender or religious, something like that, but it's any group that's less than half the population. They are a minority group in this sense. So we want people, the majority, to be able to pick policies, but we don't want them to be able to take away the rights of minority. This is a very, very tough thing to do, and we're going to talk about James Madison comes up with a solution for this problem, which we'll discuss in a later video. And finally, we have a liberal democracy. Again, this is not talking about liberal as in the ideology, like liberal conservative, but rather look at the root word of liberal comes from the word liberty. So this is talking about freedom. So we have a democracy where we are free to vote. The Constitution promotes freedom, liberty, and democracy. So if you see that term, liberal democracy, I don't want you to picture Obama or Clinton or somebody who is a liberal. I want you to think simply liberty, freedom to vote, freedom to choose the government. Now, within the Constitution, it created a few different guarantees of rights. First, we have the right to a writ of habeas corpus. So this is found within the Constitution. And basically what this means is that a person accused of a crime, they have to be brought to a judge and charged with the crime or released. So they cannot simply arrest you, throw you in jail, and not tell you what you're charged with. You have to actually be charged. You have to be brought to a judge, and that judge decides whether it's okay that you were arrested or not. The purpose of this writ of habeas corpus is to prevent illegal arrests. The Constitution also guarantees that there shall be no bill of attainder. This idea is going to sound crazy because we don't have anything like this. A bill of attainder is a law created by Congress that declares a person guilty without a trial. That's not Congress's job. They don't declare guilt of people. We have the court system to do that. So this is simply saying that there is not allowed to be any bill of attainder. And finally, the Constitution as it was originally written, when we say original Constitution, we're talking about before the Bill of Rights, it also guaranteed that there shall be no ex post facto law. Ex post facto means after the fact. So, in this picture you see a kid sitting in a classroom, sitting in front of a desk. Basically the idea is if it's legal for you to come to school today, but they pass a law and you do come to school today, but they pass a law tomorrow saying it's illegal to go to school, they can't arrest you because you had gone to school yesterday when it was still legal. So they can't make a law after the fact and find you guilty or arrest you for doing that, because when you did it, it was legal. So no ex post facto law. And we have the 3/5 compromise was also in the Constitution, and we're probably familiar with this. So that slaves counted as 3/5 of a person for representation purposes. So what we care about is the result. It gave the South extra representation in the House and in the Electoral College, and we'll get to that obviously a lot later in the year, but it increased Southern influence on the government.